Yes.
You get these back?
Sign for James and
Go that way.
They go.
one side for James.
Everybody signed it.
Sure, we got. James was on the docket. Did anyone sign for him?
Yep. I did.
Here. Second.
I
Sorry.
was like, I counted 3 signatures.
Look up. Good.
Go Brett.
We agree. We passed.
Oh, yeah. All right. You got it.
Try.
We had another fight today.
There's two. Why do you keep this for the kids?
Nothing, Birdie.
Ray, what was the lonely green sticker?
No.
2025.
John,
That didn't go. What was the one item on 2025? The green sticker, the lonely, sad green sticker.
Family banger.
Parks and Rec thing. We finished it. Gotta go read it. Oh, we pushed land this year.
Several times.
Oh,
Oh, we got that. Yeah.
It goes.
Yeah.
That place is that you drive by it's full of
In
people.
a headlock, it starts.
I always like that park. It's nice and protected from the.
All in the.
There's just so much to do for like trees and rocks. You know,
That's March.
don't have toys and outside because you get everybody just wants to do some kids are playing in dirt.
It might not
All
be.
the dirt they excavated,
But he's a.
you know, for the gravel.
Check that off the list.
You're at Parkway with fights and stuff.
they gonna get. Wow.
Excited to speak.
It's April Fools, anything could happen.
I got it.
Got it?
Yes.
Well, I heard
You don't talk about it.
On Facebook Live.
Degree of redundancy tonight.
I know people that said this
It is.
into the satire. I was
It is.
What's the April Fool's joke?
So it is.
Well,
We're all waiting.
Yeah. We have been ghosted.
Everybody's at the show, you know, like I didn't get tickets.
Yeah, the
I
show
always
is.
do that when I go up to work and I'm the only one in the parking lot. Like, damn, am I supposed to be at a meeting?
Good to go.
All right. Call this meeting to order. It is 6 p.m. First thing we'll do is go to the roll call. And we'll start with Phil Bork,
Here.
Kathleen Harris,
Here.
Bo Lamons,
Here.
Valley Millard,
Here.
Mike Warren,
Here.
Matt Moore,
Here.
and we'll notice that James Mathis is absent. I get a motion to excuse James.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we'll note that the meeting is being recorded. Additions and corrections to the published agenda.
Yes,
Right.
we have the addition of item 3A. Comprehensive Plan Community Survey. BB is an SIP grant submittal. 8A, discussion on social media policy. And 8B, a discussion on council rules update.
Great. Presentations, we have none. Moving on to the consent agenda. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Perfect. Moving on to section 3, staff committee and agency reports. First one we'll have the comprehensive plan community survey, community development from Ron Sell.
Thank you, Mayor, and I think this is only an informational request. It's coming for you. As you know, we're in the middle of the comp plan update. So this is a draft survey that we're going to be sending out soon. to local agencies, hopefully through the Chamber of Commerce, through the page and everybody else. But it is for the growth plan, mainly, and funding facility. This survey was developed by our consultant, SCJ Alliance, and it is based on information from both our focus groups that we have for climate resiliency and periodic update that we've been meeting on for the last probably 3 months, essentially. And then it is also taking from the previous survey that was done on our 2023 update. So it's very similar. Several of you probably have remember that one, and this is essentially that coming back. Its purpose is to solicit community ideas, direction, and their support to direct growth and development over the next 20 years. We intend to send it out hopefully by the end of the week. That's our plan. Not sure we'll be able to do that. And it's to support, we're doing it essentially to prior to our April 16th open house. We'll be having an open house and inviting the public in to go through this. It will be sent out hopefully to the Chamber of Commerce, to be dispersed to businesses. We'll post on our website. We'll publish it hopefully in the Herald, the Grant County Journal News website, iFiber, and then the school district also has indicated their willingness to get this out through the students to those families as well. Beyond that is essentially it, but it has quite a few questions. It's a little longer than the last one, but hopefully we'll have the same turnout as. Right now it is a draft, so there are some sections that aren't complete. We can send out the link, but it should be able to get the new one, the complete one, probably by Friday. So with that, that's all I have.
I liked it, Ron. It looked really good. I don't have an example of the previous one, but my only suggestion would be to make it as similar as possible so we not just get the data, but you can see any potential data changes from the last period. So
I tried looking for that old one to have it included.
sure.
But couldn't find, because it was a
Yeah.
HTML, a website survey.
Once they're gone, they're gone. But yeah.
I had no luck.
Ron, I had one suggestion. In the section about tell us about yourself, how about 60 or older? I'm going to drift off that end of that chart. I'm not going to be able to answer.
Okay.
Have them add that.
Is it going to be in more than one language? Like, is it going out in Spanish too, or?
English and Spanish. That's what we did the last time. But we can, I believe we can do others if needed.
Any concerns about the length of it and the amount of time it's going to take to do? Because I know people tend to lose interest after a couple of minutes and just not.
Yes, Aaron was working on it today. That was my comment also, is that it is long. It has towards the end. It won't be.
I'm just afraid we'll get people that'll do like the first page or two and then just like, I'm done and X out of it,
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about we can remove, but there's so much information there and so much good questions.
Right. It's tough. Yeah. We need the information. So
For each household that completes it, they should get one pass to our pool
there you go.
for one day.
Some incentive, right?
That previous one that we had, I was able to check on that, and we did have over 1,000
That's awesome.
responses to that last one, 2022, 2023. I'm over this and that this time.
Any more questions? Moving on. Subsection B, SIP grant submittal flood diversion planning, brought to us by project engineer Dave Bren.
some good information to go over and exciting information to go over. So on our website, underneath Dry Creek Flood Diversion Channel, it's not yet time for me to give my quarterly update on this, but I wanted you to know there's been some huge changes. I met with USBR and the Army Corps of Engineers, and they have been giving me historic information as well as legal. So we have been constructing a really good historical background on what we have and how we've got to these existing conditions. In addition, we are starting to work the problem as well. So obviously we got our first grant, which is the Department of Ecology Stormwater Quality Program. It can't be used for flood. However, there is a lot of overlapping information. When you do a comprehensive stormwater plan for a city, there's things like basin delineation, and they made that comment on their contours and mapping that really helps out with your flood side as well. Now, if we're able to divert the 100-year storm, 100-year event away or around the city, then the alluvial fan that we have in the center of our city from first out on both sides, that would potentially be able to be removed, although we were talking about how difficult that is, but the process to go through, the first step is to physically have some sort of barrier that can handle the 100-year event. What we have right now, as we went over last time, doesn't, right? And it's also in poor condition. So that was part of the discussion in the meeting. So restarting the maintenance, yes. But grant number 2 we're going after, that's this SIP grant that Ray and I have been working on. So I've been putting it together. It's due on the 15th, so it's really quick. We're going after 100,000. What it's going to do is this is a massive economic issue for our community. Over the last 50 years since the Corps left us in 74, with a 25-year storm event capability, not 100-year, we've had to do flood insurance. And at $250,000 a year, it's been just devastating to our community. Also like a wet blanket for any new, companies that come to us. So if we can get out of this unusual floodplain that we have, an alluvial fan floodplain that we have, that would be massive for our community. So it is absolutely an economic development type of project. So going after 100,000 to be able to take the 1972 plan, that's a preliminary engineering plan that Army Corps did for us, and they actually presented it to our council back in 72. But that's not what was constructed in 74. It was an option underneath the 73 plans, but we didn't get that. So the idea is to actually finish the design and then go after grants to construct it. Because if you have a design, it's much easier if you have a ready to construct projects. And there's going to be multiple projects, by the way, and you can see that below here. There's a debris basin at the very top. You got to stop all that bed load of gravel going in. And then the First Avenue Bridge would have to be adjusted because it can't handle it right now. And then we'd have to line the channel, and I've got a plan for that. 3-sided box culverts upside down. Just it'll install in the existing that we have now, and then of course finish the levee. That's 4 distinct projects. That alone, just getting our physical channel to be able to divert the 100-year, or figuring out a way to make that happen physically. Then the next element is going to Congress, basically, to find a way to remove this unusual condition that we have on ourselves that we've been left with for 50 years. So it's absolutely a little bit of money at the beginning in trying to get a little bit of SIP money from Grant County EDC. This fits all the elements in that, so we're going to make that application. We're trying to move forward without match funding. At first, if they do require match funding, I guess we would come back to you and whatever that would be. But we're going for it. You got to try, right? So there you go. There's your quick little update on where we're going with the flood side.
Thank you for the work on this. This is fantastic. I think this is more than I've ever seen in all the years I've been on council. We have not had this kind of information. So it's wonderful to have it out there for public consumption.
And I've been getting a lot of feedback, and actually some of the record is getting corrected, like on the legal side, as well as from USBR And from the Corps, I've been getting information, and I've actually been asking them for data as well. So I'm kind of curious to see if I can get some of that back. Aerial photos before the USBR put in the 30s, and then they stopped in World War II, obviously. But they took aerial photos of the whole thing, so we'll be able to tell where the water was at, how that the water came down back in the 30s, early 30s, when I get that information. So stay tuned. We're continue to put the history together.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you.
Do you have a target date as to when you think you might, have this project complete?
We should have started this about 2 decades ago. Let's just say that in the next year, we get the $100,000 so that and we intend to do it with our own internal staff. That design is actually relatively simple to take the 72 design that was started and finish it. Say that's a year. And then I have to go after grants for those 4 distinct projects. There's some modeling that occurs as well, and extreme modeling, if you will. Each of those projects could take several funding cycles, several grant cycles. So maybe 6 to 8 years, 3 to 4 projects, distinct projects. Like the bridge replacement, actually, there's money for that every biennium for bridge replacements. And I could do a little work on armoring the channel on either side. But the other ones are going to be a little more difficult. But as you can see, we're being creative, going after grants from different places. If we have a design ready to build, I think we'll have a better chance going in. And also we need to get it into all of our comprehensive planning and projects as well, so that we can go after grants. So let's add another. So 1 to 2 years for this initial design, 6 to 8 years maybe for funding those projects. And then after that, we go and try to get some congressional action, which probably could take just as long. 10 to 20 years. But we should have started a long time ago.
Right.
Now we're actually starting. We're starting the process. And who knows, we could get some breaks in between. I made a comment last time about if we did have a major flood, suddenly we'll have all the money from FEMA that we could never want. But that's also a bad thing for our community too. But if it should happen, and if we have a plan already, then we would just take the funding and implement the plan if it did happen to us. So at least we'll have a plan in place. So it's an excellent question. So hopefully before I retire.
Maybe by the next time we have to fill out a survey.
So some of these things can happen consecutively. You don't have to take them from upstream down. You could do the bridge and still have something for the collection basin going on here, and do those consecutive at the same time. There's going to be some overlap.
Frankly, the debris basin at the very top is so important because we just keep filling up our channel with all this sand and gravel that keeps coming down. And if we have something that we can scoop out and maintain after all the big events once a year, maybe, we won't continue to make things worse. And even the farmlands down below would not be impacted by silt and sand anymore because it would all be held back in a debris. So we've got to start at the top and work our way down.
Okay.
It's an excellent point.
I've only ever done the back of the napkin math on what we pay in terms of the FEMA and the flood insurance. But every time I've looked at mortgage statements, it's easily $100 to $200 a month. So I don't know if it's 500 or 1,000 parcels in play, but I think you're low. Yeah, I think you're way low. I think the work you're doing has a potential savings of millions for our city. And in addition to being a public safety issue and an economic development issue, can't cheer you on more, man. You're doing really good work.
Over the last 50 years.
Yeah.
Since the Corps left us, if it is that much, it's economically devastating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on. We have nothing in section 4, section 5, section 6. Going to section 7, resolutions. Subsection A, we have R26-019, the Western Pacific Engineering and Surveying Professional Services Agreement. Hand it over to Sean.
Mayor, Council, we have worked with WPES in the past to do our material testing, so soil both native soil and your crushed surfacing, compaction tests, concrete testing, asphalt testing. We've always done that. Each project's been a separate amendment with our sports complex pavement project. Contacted them and their services and this is an amendment to include the testing in there. So they have included their own, I guess we can have Anna speak on it or she can correct me if I'm not correct. They've included some of their provisions in their standard boilerplate provisions, which we told them we can't include those in the contract we signed previously. So we'll have to get a revised one, which they've done in the past on the first 3 projects, but accurate summary.
Pretty accurate. So we're requesting approval subject to the final approval by the city attorney so that I can approve the form.
I move to approve the contract pending the legal counsel's any amended to approve and
Second.
to it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Subsection B under resolutions. R26-020, professional service agreement with Katie Capello for remote onboarding support.
Mayor and council, is I think you're all aware, Katie will be leaving us. In that time, we've reached out and we've hired Rob Miller. This is Rob's official first day with us, although he's been coming in on his own for about the past week or so, trying to glean whatever knowledge he can from Katie while she's still here. What we'd like to do is just enter into a contract with Katie to be able to ask her to pick up the phone if we have questions for some time. And just kind of ease that transition for a couple more months, if that's possible. So one note for you on the contract, it does have a start date next Monday. Katie's still on payroll for a little bit while she utilizes her leave. So we would adjust that start date, but we'll keep the same end date. The start date will just be, I think it's roughly May 1st is when we think she runs out of her accruals. Just a note for you on that.
So you'll be an actual AI, but a human, basically. Yeah, really nice. If you have an app, I'll download it.
Tell me whatever you need.
Is there a deadline to the agreement? Or
Yeah,
is
there's
it kind of like
you said July 31st.
The 31st, yeah.
okay. And then maybe something for financial. How does this impact us financially paying 2 people to kind of in one job?
Yep, definitely impacts. I didn't look through the numbers for this. Would have to take a look at the numbers. With Rob being on preliminary probation, he's not making as much as a full person, so that helps a little bit. It should be not too detrimental, because it's not for very long.
It's not my full salary.
Yeah,
It's just
it's the equivalent of what her hourly rate would be for 8 hours a month. There it is.
8 hours a week.
8 hours a week, yeah.
8 hours.
8 hours a week. Yep.
So if she were to work 8 hours a week for the month, it's the same hourly salary. With Rob's salary while on probation is less than her salary. It's going to be a wash.
Motion to approve resolution R26-20.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Moving on to section 8, items for council consideration. Subsection A, our social media policy discussion.
Social media, such a blessing and a curse all at the same time. Those of you who follow social media, we've been able to, the positives, we've been able to engage and disseminate information at a much more effective rate to the general public. However, it has a tendency to spiral down out of control on many occasions. So there has been some discussion, and actually from the council, from members of the public, from staff, should we be just eliminating public comment under there for that purpose? So we'd like to have that discussion with you guys if you have any thoughts on that. We talked about actually when Katie and I were getting ready to start, this utilizing the city's Facebook page very actively. The Ephrata School District does not allow comments. They put information out. It's a one-way flow of information. It is an all or nothing option for you, though. You either shut it off for every post we put out, or you leave it on for every post we put out. Any kind of other option where it may even start to look like you're being selective opens us up to some liability. So, do you want to have that discussion tonight? We can put together a couple different draft policies for you to look at first. We would love some direction for you, though, on any concerns you have on the social media policy, that we could get into those drafts right now.
What would be, I guess, what would be some examples of things spiraling out of control?
Oh boy.
I can answer.
Which one do you want to come from?
Yeah, it's oftentimes there's a post on a subject, and then the comments spiral into other subjects. And the issue is, it's not the criticism, it's just a massive amount of misinformation. And so we're contributing to misinformation without trying to contribute to misinformation. That's the big concern. Criticism, that's what we're here for. Feel free, not an issue to us. Usually,
But there's other ways to
but
there's other ways to contact you directly for if they have an issue.
I mean, we have an app.
Yeah,
Right?
and
Yeah.
I personally, I mean, I got off Facebook for a reason, okay? Because I don't want to know what you had for breakfast, okay?
Mhm.
And I don't want to hear all your negative stuff, because it seems like people that get on there tend to be more negative than they would be in face to face. So I'm a big advocate of shutting it off and getting the information out there. If they have a problem, they know how to get a hold of you.
And they can still like or dislike, they just can't comment, correct?
I don't.
Yes,
It's correct.
that's
They
correct.
they can give a thumbs up or a like it or a love it or a hate it, but they just can't editorialize on it.
Well, and it still allows for like those posts to be shared in other groups, because I know there's some active groups here in town that, to me, I'd rather see our city page be no comment and just the information. And then if people want to take it and run with it in some other format, that's fine, because then it's not on the city to police that content and to make sure, like you said, you get off into some of the weeds and, is the information correct? And, and then for me as a council member, I'm try to be real conscious about, especially on those posts, who else on the council has commented, because the minute 4 of us jump on it, we're in a problem. So I try to look to see who else is there, but I think we could avoid some of that by just not.
And I can't say it's an always thing, but I've noticed, because we don't have an administrator or a moderator or anybody looking over the shoulder as far as comments are concerned, that I think my experience has been on the city site, it takes a lot more commentary and abuse than if you take that same post and you share it onto one of those other Ephrata sites.
Yeah.
Because, I shared a lot as far as city stuff to other groups. And I have found that while the city site's getting editorialized, the things that I share onto other groups, not so much. And when I put it onto the other groups, I don't say, look at us, this is great. I don't comment on it at all. I just share it. So it's there. And this goes back to our conversations that we had 2 years ago about engagement and reaching out to the public as far as trying to make contact. Not everybody gets on the city website. They should have an opportunity to see it somewhere else. And we like to let them know about it. But those other sites that I share it to, guess what? They've got administrators and moderators. So if somebody comes on and they're swearing or having an opinion about somebody as an individual, or go off topic and start talking about something entirely different, guess what? They get reined back in by that group, not by the city. So I do think that there's a little bit of a less of a negative impact about sharing that stuff off the city site. But I don't like seeing the city take those hits and we can't do anything about it.
Again, I think we have to be cautious. This isn't we're not trying to frame that as an effort to avoid criticism.
No,
It's when it spirals and then it becomes misinformation is our big concern here.
Do we not have anybody that monitors like those threads to correct the misinformation? 'Cause
You're not-
my employer, we have somebody dedicated to PIO.
Yeah.
They monitor the threads, they correct misinformation, they provide context,
We
but it's a full-time job.
try.
Yeah.
That was my
Has
job.
other jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So between Katie and I, we try to kind of moderate it. And again, there's a fine line between, okay, they're criticizing, which they're allowed to do, and they should do. It's not entirely accurate though. How do we frame it? And sometimes it's a lot of work. Like we'll go back and forth on. And the language we're choosing to try and address it. And then sometimes we'll spend an hour and a half or a day and a half going back and forth on it and be like, you know what, it's probably better if we just let it go. As you watch that discussion continue to evolve. So just again, it's not about the criticisms. It's about how it spirals into misinformation that is our concern.
well, in consideration that it's an all or nothing type thing, I don't know. As far as the other council members are concerned, Mike made himself fairly clear, but I don't know that we need to see a revised, polished presentation by staff. I mean, it's either a yes or a no direction, correct?
Well, I think we've reached a point where we should have a policy that guides us in a lot of these things so that we're still, we are a policy, as a policy board, that's our job is to fulfill your goals within the policies that you guys do, so that you adopt. I would respectfully ask that you consider a policy that helps give us direction and clarity as staff so that we don't accidentally step in something that you don't want us to step into. But again, that's your prerogative as a council.
Has there been any thought given to community, I guess, kind of that outcry? Because the culture is to use social media to air grievances of the city, for the city to be transparent, to hear the criticism. I guess the unintended consequence of turning off the comments is you take away society's current mechanism, culture to reach out, and you're teaching a new culture to go to the app. So there'll be a transition of upset community. Is
Absolutely.
that meant?
But they still have a right to share that though. If it's made shareable, they still have a right to share it on their page, on the city,
Or they can't. I guess that, yeah. So
You can share it and
they can
make
share
it
and then comment on their own,
correct.
Well,
Yeah.
their own issue.
Yeah, we can't monitor that consistently. And I can tell you in my first, I was here in Parks and Rec and I was trying to oversee that effort. Got a message through Facebook Messenger about a potential kidnapping. And that is not the place that we want people reporting crimes or issues or even any kind of thing where we need to be responding to the issue. So that's one concern we have right now. So we don't do anything through private messaging or very little. If you send us a private message, you get an automated response that says, we don't check this. Please call or email. This emergency, I think it says dial 911. So yes, the problem is it evolves into sometimes people think that's how they interact completely with us. And that's just not something that we think we want people to do. If you have an emergency, don't send us a Facebook message, call 911. And those are the things that we want to stay away from. If that makes sense.
In the end, I could kind of take it or leave it. If I was going to argue the reasons to keep it, I think that obviously transparency is a big deal. I would much prefer that any conversation were as centralized as possible. I don't want to run to 5 different pages and have the same conversation 10 times to try and get the point across. Misinformation exists whether you want it or not. Criticism is going to exist whether you want it or not. So just shielding yourself from it is not necessarily a convincing case for me. If I was going to argue why to close it, is if it's become a source of harassment for staff, if it really is an undue burden of time and management for that aspect of it. Our goal is to get the information out, not to, play police over it. Or if it is a sincere concern for legal counsel, how many of us are on there? I've valued personally being able to jump on there and correct someone and know that it's there. That's the spot people are going to look. And I've frequently had legit questions. You have something out there and you're like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. That person probably wonders when this is, or you can occasionally improve your information with the good stuff. So you can't just discount on account of the bad stuff. But if council's concerned about the number of people on there, I've always kind of felt that we had some degree of leeway because it couldn't be more public space as far as this being intentional or unintentional meeting space, and it's not like it's something that's going to be questioning whether the public got a chance to hear it. But I don't know.
If you had 4 more members of the council commenting
In the same thread,
a post, that would be a violation of the OPMA. Because it is a public discussion, but it's not meeting the technical requirements of the OPMA. So that is something, and as long as you self-police that issue, that, if you see that 3 people have commented on it, frame for further comment. The other issue, though, with
they don't view it as though we weren't all there at the same time. Like if all of a sudden you talk to 5
material meeting,
okay,
where you don't have to all be collectively present, and that way you can do an OPMA violation through email, text, social media, same thing.
Okay.
The bigger issue though with public or social media comment issues is that you're opening a limited public forum, which is protected under the First Amendment, and so that's where that really restricts your ability to police that content.
Gotcha.
There's also the element of, and then so from a resource perspective, you'd have time, staff, in trying to administer any policies, as well as like records retention.
Gotcha.
Of trying to retain those comments. So it does. I understand the engagement, but from the legal requirements placed on the city, it's always our recommendation to limit comments, just because it just eliminates those exposures completely.
Well, are we limiting, or are we just doing away from?
Doing away.
To remove the ability of anyone to comment, it's a recommendation, because you remove that liability exposure.
I think we need, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think, if you look at the highest and best use of our staff's time, Facebook is not it. We should not have Ray and Katie or Rob now spending half a day or a day policing Facebook. That's not what they're paid to do. And we don't have the ability to put in a public information officer, as nice as that would be. We don't have that. So I think we're better off just to shut it down. Yeah, you're going to get some pushback, but the information's still out there. They can still go to some other public forum and comment if they want to. We're much more transparent now than we were 5 years ago. So I don't know. I don't think shutting down Facebook comments is going to be it'll be controversial, but I don't think it's going to be the end of the world either. So
I would be remiss to not say something on this topic, because I have been obviously hands deep with Ray in this. Obviously there's pros and cons on both sides. Both sides can be argued. I would just like to point out one of the big goals, not necessarily our council goals of step, but just verbal goals that we've had, was trying to increase engagement. Transparency and engagement, we've had that conversation of the differences between the two. Yes, there is a lot of negativity, and yes, I've gotten sleepless nights over it, but it also has increased our engagement a lot. The fact that we're having those conversations, the fact that we are trying to correct it, and I'm not saying yes or no. I'm not saying this is a solution, but I would be remiss to not say something that it has increased our engagement. It has comments have led to phone calls at City Hall. There has been good, and it will continue to increase good and bad. So I would strongly consider both sides. Also, there are, and I haven't talked again about this, but there are different policies that other cities have of where you would post, hey, here's what we ask of the public. We post that in our bio, maybe once a year, refresh that. And then then it becomes a selective thing, which could be dangerous. But I just want to get the point across that, they say bad publicity is still publicity. It did create a lot of talk, a lot of conversation. It has brought people in the door. There is good to it too. So whatever you guys choose, obviously it's going to affect him more than me, but I would just consider both sides very strongly.
Well, and just from my experience, both in journalism and, as just a resident, when you're moving around and you're doing this sort of thing, you're also identifying those points of, absence of knowledge or ignorance in your community. Like, how are you supposed to know that nobody understands why you did a certain thing if they're not questioning it in a way that you can easily access? This is a tool for the city as well to see, okay, where are we not communicating enough with our residents about this project or that project? Like tonight, finding out what's going on with the flood mitigation project, things like that. There's stories to be told. And then, when people do find that they come back and they say, oh, well, this is going on or that's going on, then that also tells us where we need to move our education programs, where we're saying this is why this went that way. There's a law that requires us to do this. There's a statute or a best practice or an engineering reason that we did it the way we did it. So it allows us to see where those voids are in knowledge. But also, I think one of the things, and full disclosure, I mean, I have a history as a journalist. The First Amendment is like, I tend to not agree with any closure of that. You have to engage and manage your communication. But as a civic entity, I think many people feel that the city should engage and be out there and present on social media on a certain level and accept that direct response. There's also the fact that with the information we put out through social media, if we turn off comments, our engagement will go down and fewer people will see the messages that we're going out. That's just the way the algorithm works. If you don't interact with something and you can't comment on it, it's not going to show you as much on there. So there will be that, thing that we'll have to look at is, are we going to lose eyeballs looking at the content that we want them to see so that they know what's happening at City Hall just because we turn commenting off? So there's that. And it's also one of those things. We've got the community engagement survey. Well, we can troll through Facebook ourselves and see, well, here are some questions we should probably be asking. So there is value to it. And, like Katie said, you have to just weigh it out and see which one you want to do. It's just a matter of kind of juggling which one is the top priority.
And I have one final note that I just thought of, sorry. Tomorrow, when we do a recap on tonight's meeting, this conversation will be in that recap on Facebook. And unless you guys make, of course, the decision tonight and we turn them off tonight, this will be a conversation in tomorrow's post. So we could gauge the public like, hey, this is discussed. What do you guys think? Because this is a part of the recap regardless. So we could ask the public like, hey, this is being considered. Do you guys think we know what they're going to say more than likely, but I mean, we'll get opinions that way. So just so you guys have that awareness as well. This will be in tomorrow's post.
This is why you guys get paid the big bucks.
The bottom line is we're not the ones that have to spend a day and a half going over it.
Well,
So
that's us. Yeah. Well, we'll adjust and do the work. That's what we do. Again, the question has been brought up. It was asked. We've been asked to discuss it, so it's out for discussion. And whatever you decide, we're going to make that work. So,
Does the Ephrata School District, do they have kind of a benchmark on when they had comments and when they don't have comments, if that
I don't
changed?
think they ever have.
no, they've never.
They never have.
Its inception, they've never.
No.
it's been they have not allowed comments from the beginning.
I'd be curious to know kind of, I guess, if they can gauge their rate of interaction currently.
Look at any of the other City of Ephrata pages. Look at the bond. Look at how much engagement that was. And there was,
Places.
yep.
Yeah.
It was a chore for them to chase those comments down. They had to chase down that misinformation to try and get corrected information on.
So
But that
if they had their
probably-
comments on could they have managed the misinformation a little bit better?
I don't think so.
Think so either.
It depends though. I mean, I don't think you can, when I compare our page and the conversations, it tends to be a little more, it tends to stay in our page. When we were going through the bond stuff, you had to go to Columbia Basin Buy and Sell and supporting Ephrata and all of the different Ephrata pages. And so you were chasing that information and those posts down to try and keep it in check.
I guess that's kind of the point I'm driving.
Yeah,
And is
right now, at least it generally stays.
I mean, that concept kind of proves the point that maybe leaving comments on could be the right move in this case. So I think I feel like I need a little bit more information and maybe some more conversation.
Well, it sounds like we need some kind of a policy for it that we don't have. So I think that's where you're going with this whole thing is you need direction from us to work on a policy. And I feel like we should. Just one side note on the school bond thing. I think even if they allowed the comments on their own page, what I saw was you had a few individuals that were anonymously posting in several places, very negative, incorrect information. And that's what you guys were chasing. Honestly, I think it was probably one or two people, but they had multiple anonymous profiles that they were posting under. So I don't think if the school district had an open page, it would have made a difference. They still would have been fighting.
Yeah, there's professional.
It was
professional trolls out there.
Exactly.
It was in the law enforcement world habitually.
It was a it was just an anti-bond campaign is what it was. So anyway.
Just to be clear, I'm not adverse to somebody going on and making a comment that disagrees with a particular policy or a particular stance that the city has taken. What gets my attention is when they go on, and we had a recent one where there was a recent post, and it's the deviations where it's a attack with profanity in it in regards to water. It's a comment about this or a comment about that. It's a comment about, there's like 3 or 4 comments in there that had absolutely nothing to do with the original post. They were using it as an opportunity to gain access to our following and say, oh yeah, who cares? Let me tell you about this. And I don't know that that's what any of us would really envision in terms of communicating with the public. And that's where I get a little bit upset in the fact that they can attack people, they can do things, they can make comments that aren't true. And we don't have an administrator, we don't have a moderator, we don't have any method to, or can we legally even take those people or ban, like other groups can ban people off of a site? We can't. They can hit and run as many times as they want. So that's where I get upset about it. If we were to ask and vote this evening, I think turn off the comments would be my opinion.
Distinct impression that it would be a 3-3 vote tonight.
Could be. Yeah, could be.
I would vote with Phil. Like I'm a school employee, and it was hard, like watching some of those comments and all the things, and it's like fighting with your spouse. And I'll look at Valley. You don't bring up everything that your husband didn't do for the last 10 years, but some of these things is what
the subject at hand, right? Yeah. Exactly.
And it's like we have public record. If somebody is really upset with something, they have a way to say that. They have emails, there's phone calls, they can come in. But it's easier sometime to be anything you want to be online.
I think though, just looking at it, regardless of whether there is or isn't comments allowed on Facebook, the policy is still necessary to just provide guidelines for what we do want to put out there, or if it evolves, like what kind of, what do we do if someone makes a threat through social media, different things like that. Obviously, we probably get law enforcement involved, different things. So having that would be a good guide one way or the other, just to make sure that we've got something in writing that gives us, steps that we can take. So there's no council meeting needed, no nothing. We know what we need to do.
Our current social media policy basically says behave.
Yeah, I would strongly recommend having a social media policy. I look back in my records and provided a draft back in 2016, which is probably antiquated at this point, but yeah, should have a policy regardless.
Is the way that the city's social media account structured that if we did have a policy that granted staff or authorized staff to block people or remove certain comments that were malicious or profane or threaten staff, is the city's account set up in such a way to remove people? Because I thought I just heard a comment saying that we can't remove people, or we couldn't unfollow people, or
It's not, I believe it's not a functional issue, it's a legal issue. Again, because it is a limited public forum that you've established, your ability to, it'd be very difficult to block someone permanently. There is some ability to, post rules and explaining what you prohibit. So, profane language, that's a pretty easy one to police, but there's always going to be those marginal cases. Is this harassment or is this criticism? And so you're always going to want, and you're going to start, and that would be something addressed.
Doesn't the group that set the rule get to be subjective and apply the rule?
But as a public entity.
So again,
I don't know.
That's the issue of not only are you potentially violating your own rules, you're potentially violating the First Amendment rights of that poster if you restrict or delete their comment and it wasn't actually, a violation of a rule, or that rule wasn't appropriate under the First Amendment. That's the difficult part. It's not a black and white determination on each post. There's going to be ones that are like completely easy to police on that spectrum, but there's also going to be
Many social media sites have done it pretty subjectively throughout history on certain topics.
But in our situation, I think and the conversation started out this way, is that the subjective, that offends me, that doesn't offend me, that's your right, that's not your right, conversation is not there. We have to, as a city, legally, stop me when I'm wrong, it's either a yes or a no. We either accept it all or we don't accept any of it. There's no determination of, well, that one's okay. Because then it starts bleeding into, is it okay? Why is it okay? Is it okay because it agrees with us, it supports us? Or is it okay because they're the right to complain? They all still have those same rights. Look out, in front of us here. There's nobody here to say, I don't like it, I do like it. I don't want you to do this, I don't want you to do that. They can, but they don't. And social media just makes it easier to either be positive or negative. Again, going back to the initial comment, it's a yes or a no thing. There's no in between. That's the problem.
And I think historically, courts expect us to have a very, very thick skin when it comes to that determination.
So we have the option of gathering more information to present later of options.
Yeah, we'll try and get together. Maybe we'll find some other sample policies and distribute those and give you guys templates to start with.
So we could postpone a decision tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, tonight was just an introductory discussion.
It's a lot, it's emotional. And when we get to the factual, when Anna brings in the facts without the emotion, it makes it much easier, I think, for everyone to just kind of see the pros could outweigh the cons. So if everyone's okay with that, I think it's a good idea to just get more information.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Next one is council rules. One of the things we talked about in our goal setting and
Nice segue.
way back in December was updating our council rules. Again, our rules are fairly antiquated, haven't been updated in quite some time. How you want to choose to do that, you have the option. I can just put a draft together, send them out to you. I can get a few different ones that you guys can review. Some places have council rules that are quite lengthy. Some places have council rules kind of like ours, where it's a couple of pages, and there's everything in between. Is it something that we want to, go through where everybody's reading a draft? Do you want to do maybe a couple people work with me on kind of a subcommittee where we work on some things, talk about some things, and then start sharing our findings as we move forward? However you guys want to do that, we can do that.
I would be interested in looking at the draft and giving feedback.
Same.
I agree.
Read.
If I was going to get specific, I would say we should review what our specific policies and rules are as far as texting. And if you're really wanting us to move to Microsoft Teams, I would put that right out there.
Read my mind. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll distribute to you guys a copy of our current rules. Or give you a couple other examples of that. I'll make those available to all of you. And we can find out and talk about how
Very positive. Item 9, there are no items for council action. And we go to administration report, excuse me. MS Teams use.
Yeah, thank you.
Segue right there.
Across the board. So one of the things is, as staff, we are working, as of right now, the executive team communicates strictly through Microsoft Teams. And the reason being, it's really easy for us. If there's a public records request, we can go through and deal with that very easily without saying, Kristen, I need your phone for the next 2 days, while Anna goes through all your text messages to fulfill a public records request. We would like the council to consider doing the same. And we've kind of talked about, and I don't know if you've all been able to load Teams and log in. But we would like to get and perhaps this needs to go with the council rules, is that we will do all of our communications through Microsoft Teams as well. You can set Teams as far as when you get notifications during your workday. You can, just like any other app, it's incredibly functional. We probably will at some point move away from our current phone system and utilize Microsoft Teams as our phone system as well. There are a lot of places that already do that. Clear Risk already does that here locally. So we'll be heading into that arena at some point in time. So kind of just ask for a commitment from you guys at this point. We can put that into council rules. If you need help with Microsoft Teams, we're here to help. I hope you set some boundaries on when you get notifications and when you don't get notifications.
Are you going to turn comments off?
Not on that one. That's
I
what
know.
I should get to comment.
Yeah, but avoid it.
Anna's like,
Right.
yeah,
There's- There's still a legal issue there.
Right.
I know.
You still have to be aware of serial meetings, and
Yep.
again, when there's a group message that goes out to all of you, we should not be responding to that. Particularly if it has anything to do with that might lead to a decision. That would be very bad. So same rules apply that we've talked about with text messaging. It's just within Teams. So if something like that is of question, we wouldn't have to take your cell phones from you.
I think it'll be very smooth once we just get into the habit and use of it. It just is, I'm in there, but there's obviously no real discussion going on. So it's kind of pointless.
If you have questions, the mayor has been phenomenal. He's completely adopted Teams. I don't text him. It's all through Teams, and he's really good about getting back pretty
I feel the cringe whenever I've texted you, Ray. So I'll get on there as soon as I can.
Mine is on and notifications turned on. You feel free to
perfect.
use it.
Right.
I may have to flip back and forth between different networks.
Yeah,
So you might have to send me a text saying,
check your Teams.
check, yeah. So a
Just do that.
respectful prompt would help.
And there's some staff I have to do that with as well. So
I navigate through like 3 different networks. So
Well, that's good.
and if I could, last but not least, this is our last council meeting with Katie.
Oh,
So I would like to recognize her and the effort she's put in her tenure with us. A lot of that discussion today about utilizing Facebook and the value that that has brought to us and in our ability to engage. The website that Dave pulled up, that was all work that Katie did to get that up and running. So what you see on the screen there is a result of Katie's work. Putting our stuff on YouTube and all of that work towards our engagement is a result of Katie's work. So I'd like to take some time to just say thank you to her and wish her safe travels Saturday. She's literally moving Saturday out of state. So just want to take that time to thank you publicly for your time and efforts.
And thank you all. You guys have been wonderful to work with. I know I have full confidence that Rob will take and run with it. And you guys have been great. So thank you so much.
I'll say the same thing, but you beat me to it.
Oh, sorry.
So I really hate to close this out. This is the last time we'll see Katie here, but we're done. Adjourned. Yeah.
Or anything else.
Did you get to bed?
fall out of my chair.
they don't come around a lot.
Be asking me, what did you have for lunch, dinner?
Not enough. No. Well, since we get to the controversy, huh?
Yeah.
Hear yourself. Were you in 2 weeks?
Yes, good to see you.
Yes, sir.
You want to sign those and then get them there?
Absolutely.
Katie, should you?
Yeah, I just,
Careful.
no, I think the only way to avoid all of the drama and all of the potential problems is to